Ladies and gentlemen, Pronago bringing you some more Cosmonarchy, and I have never been more excited than right now, and I won't be this excited about Cosmonarchy tournament stuff until we actually start the Battleman stage, and then I won't be that excited until we actually start the Throne Room stage, and then I won't be that excited until we get to the Grand Final, and that's because we are going to be casting some of the final qualification matches, the 5 last chances for 5 more players to join us in the Battleman stage. Let's meet our contestants. We've already had to say sayonara to a few of these homies, regrettably and truly. It's something that I was very much expecting some of these results to just go maybe a little bit of a different way, you see. But we don't have too much time to dwell on the bracket. Instead, let's just talk about the matches we have before you. The upper bracket is HonMonO's Terran versus BtyB's ZERG. This is a BtyB who had a minor upset against St. Aquinas, who's been a fairly reasonable player in the past, but had to come back into, after a period of inactivity, come back into his own and found himself rolling selective random ZERG and Discozy and just struggled a little bit in the practice part of it, perhaps, because of that and his inactivity. So BtyB moves on to face HonMonO, who 2-0'd Blade Hollow earlier in the tournament. HonMonO is a South Korean StarCraft 2 Terran pro, so I'm looking forward to seeing if he can finally punch his ticket. It would be a pretty big upset if he doesn't win the next 3 matches, at least one series, but we are all into best of 5 territory, so we'll be taking a look at that matchup very soon. The other upper bracket qualifier is going to be Godwheat versus Grasseater. These are the players who expected to get here, but they both were bloodied by their underranked opponent. We had George take a game off of Grasseater, and we had Godwheat lose a match to Hursty. Hursty actually lost, won the first match in that group, or in that particular head-to-head series, and that created a very exciting reality to live in, because maybe Godwheat wouldn't even have gotten here. He had to fight his way through the lower bracket, but that was not to be. In that lower bracket, we do have St. Aquinas fighting his way through Blade Hollow to await the loser of our second qualification match, and the loser of this very next one will face George after a hard-fought battle against Hursty as well. So perhaps the more expected players down there in the lower bracket, but that is where we find ourselves. So I say we get ready, we dial it in, and we figure out which one of our players, HonMonO or BtyB, are going to make it into the next match. Into the Battleman stage. It's BtyB in the bottom left. He is our... I actually think this is Eggshell Blue on ZERG, a very nice color. And HonMonO is in the top right as our dark bronze? Dark olive. I mean, I guess dark bronze when it's dark olive and vice versa. That's just how it works. But he is in the top right as our Terran player. This time around, we are looking at, I think, a very interesting head-to-head. BtyB going for a fairly early 8-pool build, so this is a pool first. It's not quite as aggressive as the 6 pools we've been seeing from Grasseater. And BtyB makes a lot of maps. He didn't end up making this map. This is a port of Tokamak from StarCraft 2. No surprise, HonMonO ended up picking it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this matchup ends up going. I also want to go ahead and give a shout out to some of our match admins. No match admin for this one because it was played at a bit of an odd hour. BtyB ended up having to do some of the admin legwork himself. And he goes up against HonMonO. HonMonO, obviously a player who has been doing some moves throughout the general the general circuit of Cosmonarchy. He's been played in every tournament he could sign up for, a bunch of the weekend wages as well, even when they weren't in the best time zone tournament style for himself. I think actually, though, come to think of it, he probably wouldn't have been able to participate if we hadn't switched over to Saturdays. I'm hoping that after Acropolis winds down and we just have a little bit more attention and interest in stuff like the tournament series, but we don't have an active event anymore, that weekend wages can actually be something that is a little bit more regular in a sense of, oh, maybe it is actually every week instead of every other. Or if it isn't going to be like that, because maybe they're a bit of a difficult one to host up, and broadcast the whole time, then maybe at the very least we can alternate between Saturdays and Sundays so that those who are only available on one day or versus the other. HonMonO's in Korea, so my Saturday is his Sunday for the most part, so just gotta keep that in mind. Now, BtyB, in my time zone, obviously the correct time zone, and he already has a... All right, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the sharp cut in the video, but it does look like we had a broken replay, or at least a broken replay version. I just had to switch what version of the game I was actually running there. That's an oopsie from me. I got so excited about this series that I launched the game through my hotbar instead of actually through the release launcher. As we see, the Cyprian is going to be released from life, and this is not looking too good. He can definitely dive onto that second sip and easy as you like, and now the Masons are going to be under some fire there. He kind of dives around instead as another Cyprian finishes up, and, well, they'll be able to pick that guy, but at the very least, we don't see too many more casualties on the Zerg side. Got all of that done with a single... All right, thanks for the subscription, dude. Got all of that done with a single Zeth kill. So now HonMonO looking around to see what kind of action he can have. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if BtyB ends up... yeah, he's going to end up unburrowing some of these Zeths, right? Yeah, he does, but he's got to hightail it out of there. If he had reacted immediately or been able to proactively unburrow even, that would have been a little bit of a better situation for him. Look at this. Only a little bit of Espion Harvest from him, but he does end up throwing down a second macro hatch there, or I guess a third hatch overall, but a second hatch in the natural. Looks like HonMonO wants to move across the map. He's just pumping units out of 3 base, and I don't know. I mean, with the Quaz count coming, BtyB has a good worker count. Obviously, the expansion already up here. He can set up some static defense. The one thing I'm not sure about is the placement of this hatch versus some kind of bio attack. I love that he sent another Zeth in to confirm that more units are moving out, but he does have enough Quaz over here to make it so that this Huracan can't just, like, walk in by itself. I would love to see some kind of static defense up here, particularly if you can kind of place it around this little choke point. Oh, a little burrow trap trying to be set up. I don't know how often HonMonO has fought against stuff like this, so it might be that, you know, the other Quaz just walk up here and kill the Cyprian. In fact, very close to doing so, and yeah, when obviously the Huracan is going to do a lot of splash damage and take a lot of hits from the Quaz, but it does look to me like, oh man, maybe not. BtyB has a lot more Quaz coming. I don't know how many just hatched. It looks like only 1 extra pair, so he's got 5 left. Well, I mean, the bio count isn't really that insurmountable, though. Gotta play around it. Love some static defense again. I know I already said it, but at least put a circuit down here to prevent it so that if you end up losing ground over here, your hatch is kind of buying you time. Yeah, Kagrin going down. I don't necessarily love that positioning, but it will stop Huracans from running by. A nice cloud of Quaz ready to go. He's trying to go after the Cyprians. Maybe it would be better to focus down individual Huracans or something, but not quite going to be what he needs. He can just keep flooding units, though. He has that extra larva from the macro hatch, and it isn't going to fall down anytime soon. You can see the Huracan soaking up a ridiculous amount of damage, and his Circuit is, again, not really in the best place. Definitely needs to try to defend the hatch, and specifically, if he can disengage it after the Huracan already sets it on fire, he can be in a much better position, but oh man, his Quaz running over to the Cyprians instead of dealing with those Huracans on the front line. And I think, yeah, BtyB maybe is even having a hard time dealing with that. He's not right-clicking. That's why. That's the answer. The Huracans are attacking a building. The Cyprians are the ones attacking the Quaz. This is probably related to the same issue. Oh man, 1,000 minerals. Yeah, BtyB maybe got full tilted. HonMonO throwing out the GG posthumously as BtyB's corpse leaves the area. First game not going very well for him. I felt like he had a lot of potential there in that hold, though. It definitely wasn't open and shut. But yeah, we have, if those who don't know, we have definitely made inroads in fixing like auto-target acquisition issues. We just haven't pushed it to the release version of the game since we're waiting on a couple of other things to be tested. But yeah, unfortunate for BtyB. He falls prey to that. Didn't end up having it in him to just pound away at the right click there. That's definitely what you would want to have done in that situation. Maybe even anyway. But the attack move thing would have fixed it, you know, sort of. And I am really thinking he did some good like damage to slow down the pace of HonMonO's attack and had a reasonable follow-up. He got his Vornath, didn't end up making any Zeths to make any Vorbs with, so maybe that could have also helped him out a little bit. But yeah, either way, BtyB not able to make it happen. HonMonO takes the first victory. We go on to our second map, which surely has to be a BtyB map, right? No, you're wrong. It's Knife's Edge, a 3-spawn map coming up. And here we are on Knife's Edge. Now, BtyB and HonMonO are dueling on this particular map. This is a 3-spawn map done by Jujic, a port of Dominator. And we even, you know, we came up with like calling the slices of ground over on the that spike out here instead of calling them pizza slices, because that just makes me hungry in the middle of the cast, dude. I can't do that. I think, you know, we started calling them like sabers or, you know, knives, daggers, whatever you want to call that. So that's just cool, man. That's just cool. Pool coming pretty quickly here for BtyB. Is that actually... I wasn't paying too close attention, and I should have been. This might have actually been a 6 pool. On a map like Knife's Edge, you can gamble a little bit, but I feel like it's probably easier, a little bit more efficient to try to go for some kind of early attack. Oh, he's going to do a 6 pool with a scout, or whatever pool timing this was with a scout. I feel like his worker count's a little too high for it to have been a 6 pool. But he's going to scout his opponent first. This can end poorly for you if your first unit timing is such that your military units start going the way of the other spawn. But I think, based on what I'm seeing here, BtyB is going to end up scouting his opponent a little bit early, although he has misclicked it, apparently, off to the wrong side. Needs to wrangle that ASAP. That's not the spawn, dude. Yeah, there you go. He didn't look at that and think, okay, he's not there. I mean, he probably did, but not in the sense that, like, okay, now I go to the other side. Sending the Zets after the Droleth, though, is going to be a hard decision to make. I feel like most players would just go ahead and send them to the other base, and then when the Droleth arrives, then they can change their course. So, see if he ends up adding them to a control group. It is only 4 Zets, which isn't the most optimized situation for them. And yeah, the Zets are indeed moving up to 12 o'clock, and they have not corrected their position, or have they? Yeah, they have started to move over here. Droleth sees that it's a Fulcrum Expand. The first Vulture is coming. Maybe this isn't really the build that you want to be going up against. Oh, BtyB! I love it. Now the Zets can try to come on in here against the Vulture. We'll see what HonMonO has to do about that. Just pairing off like one of them to attack the Mason while the others try to deal with this initial pesky Vulture is a good move. It does take a while for this hatch to actually hit, and it does look like instead of losing the Mason, he is just going to cancel out the Ministry and maybe start building something else on the low ground here. An Anchor and indeed another Ministry get started. So he successfully wasted a little bit of money with the cancel and the mining time there as well. But now we got 2 Vaults out, and even though HonMonO's micro is a little bit fluffed there, he doesn't have any ranged units to try to combat this. He's got 1 more pair of Zets coming, and if the Vultures are going to be busy attacking the hatch, you can start sort of heckling them a little bit. And these lobotomy mines, well, they don't actually end up... yeah, look at that. They double stun 1 Zeth. So he's going to pick that initial pair of Zeths that comes out, the reinforcing pair, but it does feel like this is okay here for BtyB. He's got his hatch at a pretty close to completion. Oh, the Vulture's targeting down the egg is a good move, though, forcing a cancel on that Quaz. You can kind of camp it like that. You can also stun eggs and larvae, and that will stop the egg from... start the larva from morphing into anything, and it'll stun the egg and pause it from actually completing. So he can't actually reinforce this position very easily. He didn't send any Droleth or anything to like build structures behind the hatch or what have you. And the Anchor landing over here is going to allow the Vultures to attack the hatch. I like the idea of him constantly posturing over here, but he is making macro hatches back at home. He already has one in the main base. I really like the macro hatch play. I don't know how mathed out it is, but oh yeah, stun your own units because of the larva. That's really funny. Well, down the hatch will go, and the Droleth will not escape. The units are now just kind of guarding around it. You don't get any like bonuses for being on the Kagro from a unit perspective, so no real issue there. I guess like Riddle Rokors don't time out. That might be one. I have considered maybe like Riddle Rokors should get more powerful. Oh, that's an opportunity to pounce on those with the Quads, but instead he actually just dives back. He could have just picked that Vulture. Does have to watch out for the mines. You want to send the Zeth in ahead of time to see if it can cancel out some of that. And you can land on the Kagra. This version of Creep is what we call Kagra. And you can land on this when you are, when there's no active hostile generator. You can build on it, land on it, anything you want like that. So it doesn't block a building the way that it maybe ought to, who knows, but used to. Some initial pops there, a lodestone for extra anchor. No Zeth, okay, only now do we get some of those stuns there. Quaz count's still pretty good, but now the lodestone is deployed, and it has more beef than an anchor, so it's gonna take a little bit. Still end up taking some damage. We don't have too many more reinforcing Quaz. Well, I say that, there's way more coming. Yeah, definitely can still waypoint the Quaz across. Maybe needs to pick apart the Mason that's repairing it. Maybe needs to see about going one step further, tripping that last mine and getting on top of the Anchor, because the Anchor represents more DPS. Oh, but Matadors are coming on now. Behind this, HonMonO's been adding a lot of Fulcrum and making a scrapyard. So Quaz units are not really, pool units are not going to be the answer here by themselves, unless you just make a tremendous number. And he can do that with all of the extra minerals that he's got, all the extra patches that he's made, but I don't think he can actually bust this position. And he probably wants to make a couple extra workers sometime soon here. Making the Vornath, so at the very least he can go for, you know, Zeths and such. Only mining gas with 1 worker in the main base, 2 in the natural. Off of the geyser alone. Matador count starting to rise pretty high. You think they're beefy when they've got their 2 armor by default, which the Quas ignores one of. When they deploy, they get extra. So as long as they're facing their attacker in general, they get extra. So you really got to watch out for that. You kind of want to surround them, maybe hit them with a Vorv or something to rend 1 armor. Things like that. A pair of Naths, okay. Doesn't have the minerals. I thought it was going to be Vespene that limited him. He doesn't have the minerals right now to afford a lot of Naths. I guess if he ends up building a pretty large cloud, he can move in to attack the mineral line over here. An extra Fulcrum is coming. A lot of Blackjack, so you don't want to attack the army with the Nathricors once those guys come out. The Matadors don't attack air. The Vultures don't attack air. But Blackjacks will be all right versus things like Nathricors. I guess like if you have a small number of them, the Naths can deal with that, but just something to keep in mind. The Quas checking the army. Maybe getting checked by HonMonO's forces. I saw at one point there were 5 pairs of Nats being made. Yeah, so it looks like we have a lot more on the way. But 4 down here. 8 more coming. And another few in production. Looks like that has been the focus for BtyB since his Quas count has been working. This is actually working in his favor in the sense that it'll probably make HonMonO turn around when this many air units start running into his base. He hardly has anything to defend with them. The units all being waypointed across the map. Is being led there. By the way, HonMonO never scouted BtyB's location. I think BtyB, it's easier for him to forget that. But he can just go up towards 12 o'clock and like bring the army on a wild goose chase. Droleth's waypointing out as well. Now the Masons are under attack. The counterattack is happening. Does look like the Blackjacks are going to be on the defense duty. Lodestone was unloaded, so nothing in there. A couple circuits are being made. A trio of them. He's not making any combat units despite all his larvae and all of his minerals, and the Nats are trying to tear apart individual units. Now going after the Lodestone, that seems like a pretty unimportant target. There's so much mech here for HonMonO. I don't see how he loses this, especially as he makes 8 Blackjacks a pop. The Lodestone even being repaired. Oh no! BtyB's air units getting annihilated, and his Zeps can't come to the party fast enough. The whole cooler's been destroyed. Dumped over. GG. Out of beer, BtyB ends up hitting the deck. And that, my friends, is another notch in HonMonO's belt. Now, I do have to come clean with you guys. I did say this is best of 5 territory. It even says best of 5 in the spot there. But these guys had a hard time meeting in the first place. And then they thought it was a best of 3. I probably gave them the wrong veto link in the first place, so that contributed to the confusion. So they thought it was a best of 3, and HonMonO won 2-0, and then BtyB said, okay, well, I'm out. I guess I go to the lower bracket. And so he conceded when he found that information out. He just said, yeah, that's fine, just mark it as done. But yeah, we don't get a third game between these two, which kind of rubs me raw, because I really liked the way that BtyB was approaching some of this stuff. And I feel like there's little gaps in the armor that HonMonO could have actually been exploited by BtyB's style, that I did want to see him get tested a little bit more than that. But as of right now, that is the conclusion to our saga here, and that will be the end of HonMonO versus BtyB. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little taste test. And yeah, our South Korean Terran Pro walks into the Battleman stage off the back of his performance. Definitely some things he's going to have to watch out for when he's up against the stronger players, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what all he ends up getting done. And yeah, GG's on that front. I will see you tomorrow, and it will be Pickle Day.